The U.S. Arab Radio Network is the largest Arab and Muslim radio network in America, broadcasting throughout the Midwest region Monday through Friday on WNZK AM 690. U.S. Arab Radio features Arabic and English language programming on every topic, from health, food, and culture to government, politics, and legal issues. Listen live to U.S. Arab Radio in Michigan, Toledo, Ohio, and Windsor, Canada on WNZK AM 690. And in Washington, D.C., Maryland, and Virginia on WDMV 700 AM. You can also follow us on Facebook, Instagram, X, and TikTok. So join us every day on the U.S. Arab Radio Network and check out our website at www.arabradio.us.
وسهلا بكل الذين ينضموا للاستماع إلى راديو بلدي أول راديو عربي أمريكي ويعنى بقضايا العرب في المهجر. برامجنا في راديو بلدي كل يوم جمعة من 8 وحتى 9 صباحا في بث حي ومباشر عبر WNZK Radio 690 AM. صباح الخير بلدي، صباح الخير لكل مستمعينا.
Welcome to Radio Baladi, the first Arab, Middle Eastern, and American simulcast radio show. Radio Baladi is broadcast every Friday morning on WNZK 690 AM from 8 until 9 Eastern Time on Good Morning, Michigan. Our call-in number 248-557-3300. And now, stay tuned for the best radio talk show on Arab and American issues.
Good morning and thank you for being with us. This is Khalil Hachem with U.S. Arab Radio. Happy Friday. Thank you for listening. We have a great show for you today. As you well know, fall is around the corner. It offers a great weather, good food, but at the same time, we need to get ready for, as you well know, flu, COVID, other ailments. With us this morning is Dr. Natasha Bagdasarian. She is the Chief Medical Executive for the state of Michigan. Good morning and thank you for being with us.
Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. So let's start with the flu. What do we know and what do we need to do?
Well, this is time to get your flu vaccine. It's that time of year. We know that in the fall and winter, it's when all of these respiratory viruses like to circulate. And so it's a really good idea to get your flu vaccine before Halloween sometime. So either now, end of September, or in October. And these vaccines are widely available. They may be at your healthcare provider's office. They may be at your local pharmacy.
Is it too early to get it now?
It's not too early to get it. What I can tell you is that it does offer the strongest protection about 4 months after you get the vaccine, so 3 to 4 months. And usually we have our flu surges in January, February, sometimes a little bit later. So some people prefer to wait. Some people prefer to get theirs a little bit closer to Halloween. However, it all depends on your personal circumstances. If you've got a big family gathering coming up, if you want to make sure that your family is healthy and protected because you're going on vacation in October, or you've got something that you want to prepare for, maybe you want to get it a little bit earlier. So there's no right or wrong answer. You can get it in September, you can get it in October, but the key is to make sure you get that vaccine.
Is there different variety of vaccines or just one flu vaccine?
There are lots of different varieties of vaccine. The two biggest differences is there is an intranasal spray vaccine, and then there is the shot. Now, some people just prefer to get the shot because that's what they always get. Some people, because of their own underlying health conditions, prefer one or another. But again, there's really no wrong answer. I would just get what is available to you, what's carried in your doctor's office or what's carried in your local pharmacy, because the most important thing is to get that shot. Now, it may not prevent all cases of influenza, but what it does is it's very effective at preventing the serious complications. So it keeps people out of the ICU, out of the hospital, out of the emergency department, and it prevents death. So that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to keep people as healthy as possible. It may not prevent a mild influenza. And the other thing I just want to remind people is there are so many viruses that circulate at this time of the year. We tend to call everything the flu, but most of these are not the flu. There are about 200 different virus subtypes that circulate. And the influenza virus only protects you against influenza. So it only protects against one kind of virus and the serious consequences of it. So you might still get sick. It's that time of year again, but you want to just keep yourself as safe and healthy as you can. And getting your flu shot is one way to do that.
Now, the nasal and the shot, are they equally the same?
They're both
The same
safe.
protection?
They're both effective. They're both, again, good at preventing those serious consequences. So I am fine with either one. Again, whatever is available to you, whatever your healthcare provider recommends, whatever's easy for you. If you've got a child who is very scared of needles, you may prefer the nasal shot. It may just be easier to get the intramuscular vaccine in your arm and just go about with your day because that's what you're used to. So whatever works for you.
Yeah. What should I expect when I get the vaccine? Am
You
I
know,
going to get sick? Is it a live virus? What's going on?
No, typically with the intramuscular shot, people can feel a little bit achy. The complaints I hear most are achiness in that arm. The best thing to do, so a lot of people want to keep that arm still and sort of baby the arm. And the best thing you can do is actually keep it moving, because when you keep the arm still, you can actually make it more sore. It can make the pain a little bit worse. You want to keep that arm moving. So when I talk to my patients who are saying, I'm going to skip my usual activities, I'm just going to stay home, I'm feeling achy after getting the flu shot, I try to urge them, no, do all the things you normally do. Go to the grocery store, lift up your groceries, go for your walk, do the things you normally do if you can, because you want to keep moving as much as possible.
Is it true people say that when they feel, like flu symptoms, and even if it's a little bit strong, that means their body is really working better with the vaccine, or for antibodies?
Well, it's hard to say better or worse, but really, when you feel achy, that is a sign that your immune system is activated, and that's what we want to do. So these are essentially immune boosters. People are always saying, what's the best immune booster out there? And there's no magic pill, but these vaccines, they are teaching your immune system exactly what to be on the lookout for. They're so helpful because what it's doing is it's actually telling your body, be prepared for this exact type of virus that might be coming later. And then if your body sees it later, your immune system can ramp up. So these are immune boosters, and really, really good way to get your immune system ready for what's to come this flu season.
Pneumonia, who should take that vaccine?
So the pneumonia vaccine is really meant for people who are a little bit older. So this is actually a vaccine against the most common kind of pneumonia that can really can land people in the hospital and make them ill. And so that's something that you should talk to your healthcare provider about, because it's typically for people who are a little bit older or who have underlying health conditions.
How old?
So typically we recommend it for those over the age of 65, but if you have underlying health conditions, you may be recommended to have it a little bit earlier. So the best thing to do is talk to your healthcare provider about that.
So normally the pharmacy sends me all this, like, you need to take this, you need to take that. Before I take anything, you're recommending that I should talk to my doctor first.
I think if you have any questions at all, it's a really good idea to talk to your healthcare provider, your doctor, your nurse practitioner, whoever it is that you normally see for your healthcare needs. But there are different kinds of pneumonia vaccine, and it's really best to make sure that you're talking to either your healthcare provider or your local pharmacist to see which one is right for you and at what age.
What kind of flu season are we expecting?
It's really hard to tell. Every flu season is a little bit different. This year, it could be later, could be earlier. We typically look at what's happening in the southern hemisphere and look at which strains are circulating, and then make our guidance according to those strains. Now, this year, we really want to make sure that enough people are getting the flu vaccine, because there's a lot of conversation right now in the news media about vaccines, and that may discourage people from getting vaccines. And so that's the part we can't predict. If fewer people get vaccinated, we could end up with a worse flu season. We could end up with hospitals that are more full, hospitals that can't take care of everybody who needs to be cared for. So it really depends on a couple of things. It depends on timing of when we start seeing those viruses circulating, but it also depends on how many people are getting the flu vaccine. So I'm hoping that folks out there are listening and watching and making sure that they're getting the flu vaccine.
Wonderful. Last year we talked about RSV, and is it an issue this year?
So RSV is something that, again, it is one of those viruses that circulates at this time of year. And the good news on RSV is that we have a few different options. We've got a vaccine for women who are pregnant, and that actually protects the baby. We've got a vaccine for older adults, so adults over the age of 50 with underlying risk conditions. And then we've also got a monoclonal antibody that can be given to babies during their first RSV season. That's really protective as well. So there's a few different options out there. Again, talk to your healthcare provider if you think you fall into any of those categories.
We had a question from a listener who said they were told to take the pneumonia and flu together. What vaccines can we group together, and should they do that or just take them, 2 weeks apart?
So there are a lot of vaccines that you actually can take together. And the rule of thumb is if these are killed vaccines, you can typically take them together. We only have some cautions about live virus vaccines and which live virus vaccines you should not take together. So these killed vaccines typically, there may be some exceptions based on your specific health profile, but killed vaccines you can typically take together. So things like influenza, COVID vaccine, RSV vaccine, those are typically things you can take together. And if your pharmacist or your healthcare provider is telling you that you can take them together, there should be no problem at all. A lot of people say, and they worry about this with kids' vaccines as well, it's just too much. It's too much for your immune system. But you have to remember your immune system is seeing hundreds of different proteins and antigens every day. And so 2 vaccines or 3 vaccines even is really nothing compared to the hundreds or thousands of different things that your body is encountering every day.
Yeah, and deals with every day on daily basis. What we're going to do is we're going to take a short break. Please stay tuned.
Welcome to Al Shaba Restaurant at 2029 15 Mile Road in Sterling Heights, where you'll be treated to the finest in Middle Eastern cuisine. Enter into the exotic atmosphere of tantalizing aromas and enjoy our chicken or beef shawarma hummus, kebabs, specially seasoned Syrian-style beef burgers, babia fatouche salad, soups and sandwiches, plus desserts that include baklava, ice cream, and more. Just call in your order at 586-565-6661 or go to our website and place your order now at elshaba.square.site. That's elshaba.square.site. Then you'll see all there is to choose from. Try us today. You'll like us. We are located at 2097 15 Mile Road in Sterling Heights.
Arab Center Washington, D.C. was established in 2015 to serve as a Washington-based authoritative research center on the Arab world and U.S. policies in the region. My name is Khalil Hachem, and I'm the Executive Director of Arab Center, Washington, D.C.
I am Tamara Kharoub. I'm the Deputy Executive Director and Senior Fellow here. Our mission at Arab Center Washington, D.C. has been to provide Arab perspectives to U.S. policy conversations and to highlight rights-centered approaches to policymaking as a way to serve the causes of human rights, democracy, just and peaceful resolution to conflict, and constructive long-term U.S. interest in the region.
Our work also addresses fundamental aspects of U.S.-Arab relations through timely and objective academic research, policy analysis, and educational exchange, reaching millions of people here in the United States and around the world.
Since our inception, we invested in producing reliable, evidence-based, and inclusive analysis on important issues shaping the Middle East and North Africa.
We would like to invite you personally to check out our publications and events at arabcenterdc.org.
And please follow our social media platforms for timely responses to news, events, and current affairs.
arabcenterdc.org. Okay, let's see. 3 orange folders, 2 blue folders, 1 white gym shirt, 1 box of 24 crayons.
Before you get started on that back-to-school list, get caught up on this one.
Measles, mumps, rubella vaccine, polio vaccine, chickenpox vaccine.
Protect your child from disease outbreaks. See a healthcare provider to get them up to date on vaccines and visit ivaccinate.org to learn more. A message from the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services and the Franny Strong Foundation.
Welcome back and thank you for being with us. We are talking to Dr. Bagdasarian about vaccines, the flu, and now we're going to talk about COVID. And this is a little bit more tricky than last year. What's new with COVID? Do we have any updates? Is it as strong as it was last year? Do we need to worry about it? And where can we get the vaccine?
So the COVID vaccine is just as good as it has been previous years. It's just as safe, just as effective. We know that the COVID vaccine is really helpful, just like the flu vaccine, at keeping you out of the hospital, keeping you out of the emergency room, and preventing things like death or even long COVID. So it may not prevent a mild case, but it will prevent those severe complications. So it's still a really good vaccine. The data has not changed. What has changed is some of the discussion around COVID vaccine. And this is really unfortunate because a lot of this is not based on data and evidence. Some of this is based on, unfortunately, politics.
Yeah.
And so there are some obstacles this year to COVID vaccine that have not been there before. And a lot of these depend on specific language that was changed at the CDC. There's a group that meets on immunization practices. They have not made their recommendation on COVID vaccine yet. They're actually meeting on September 18th. So we'll have some more conversation then, but it may be a little bit harder for some folks to get their COVID vaccine because of some of these changes that have happened. Again, the vaccine is still as safe and effective as it's always been. So here is my advice to people. We still recommend COVID vaccine. We recommend it for those with high-risk conditions. So if you're under the age of 2 years, if you're over the age of 65, we definitely recommend the vaccine. But if you are healthy and if you want the vaccine, you should still be able to get the vaccine because, again, we know that this vaccine will prevent those severe complications. So we really believe that everyone should be able to get the COVID vaccine for protection from ending up in the hospital. However, if you don't have an underlying health condition, it may be a little bit more burdensome to get the vaccine at a pharmacy. So a couple of things you can do. You can call ahead and find out what your pharmacy's policies are and see if they have any specific rules around who they're giving the COVID vaccine to. You could also ask your healthcare provider to give you a prescription. Sometimes that helps with certain pharmacies, but the most important thing, most people have an underlying health condition. They just don't really realize they have an underlying health condition.
Yeah.
So anyone who has diabetes, anyone who has asthma or any breathing problems at all, if you have any kind of heart condition, if you have been diagnosed with high blood pressure or high cholesterol, any of those medical conditions, and if you have, if you are overweight or if you have inactivity, if you're not as active as you wish you were, those are all qualifying things that allow you to get the vaccine. So those are all high-risk conditions that people forget they have. So the most important thing is if you're trying to get your COVID vaccine at a pharmacy, you probably have one of those underlying conditions. I tell people all the time, because I'm sitting in my chair talking on Zoom for 8 hours a day at least, that qualifies me for being inactive, and I should be able to get the COVID vaccine. So remember to say, yes, I have an underlying condition if you have any of those things.
Do I have to provide a proof that I do have one?
So we've talked to all the major pharmacy chains in Michigan, and most of them are not asking for any proof, any documentation, or even for any certification that you have one of these conditions. Most of them we're hearing are just asking at the window.
Sure.
We don't know how strictly this is being enforced. Different pharmacy chains have their own policies. And so again, if you have any of those things, if you feel comfortable saying you have an underlying condition, you can tell the pharmacist, and you should be able to get that vaccine at your local pharmacy.
You know, I read the guidelines and they're pretty vague, which leaves, I mean, in a way it's bad they're vague, but at the same time it leaves room to really wiggle around it.
Well, we know that the vaccine is helpful in protecting people who have no medical conditions as well. We know the vaccine keeps healthy adults and children out of the hospital as well. And everyone should have the right to choose something that protects their health in a scientifically proven way, which these vaccines do. And so, there are other states who are even saying if you are unvaccinated, that's a high-risk condition. So you can say, I have a high-risk condition. So there are lots of ways that you can answer that question. If you feel comfortable, just think about all of the medical conditions you have. If you're taking any pills on a daily basis, that probably means you have some sort of medical condition that qualifies you.
Absolutely. Now, is there fear that if not many people take the COVID vaccine, that we may have a rebound of, because we don't have that much protection, and then it can go into our bodies and mutate differently?
So, we know that most people, the vast majority of people in the United States, have some protection to COVID. So it's very different than things were in 2020. Because 99% of people have some level of protection. It's just that protection wanes over time. So if you haven't had a COVID shot for a couple of years, if you haven't had COVID in a couple of years, or even in 1 year, your immunity wanes. And so the longer it's been since you've had your immune system exposed to COVID, the more likely it is for you to get those severe complications. So if we end up in a situation where very few people are getting vaccinated and more people are vulnerable, we could end up in a situation where our hospitals, our emergency departments, our urgent cares are more full. And that's what we want to avoid, because it really matters to me that if someone is having a heart attack, they can get the care they needed, and that our emergency departments aren't full of people with things like COVID and flu that are preventable.
Last time we talked, we had concerns about, because of the political situation, not many parents are giving their children enough vaccines, or the vaccines that has this changed?
We've seen, in fact, a further decline in childhood vaccinations. So when I was discussing this topic about a year ago, we had seen a decline for our childhood immunizations from about 74% to about 70%. We've seen that decline even further to about 68%. And I think a lot of that is because of all of this rhetoric around vaccines, all of this misinformation and biased information that's being put out there, and it's making people more hesitant. We have to remember that these diseases aren't a problem. The reason we don't see kids dying from polio, the reasons we don't see kids with measles, is because of these vaccines. These vaccines have been incredibly successful. And it's really sad to see us not using some of the tools we have that have helped so many millions of people around the world.
Is there anything I haven't asked you that people need to know?
I just want everyone to be safe and healthy this cold and flu season. So just take care of yourselves, take care of each other.
Thank you so much. We appreciate you being with us. We've been talking to Dr. Natasha Bagdasarian, who is the Chief Medical Executive for the state of Michigan. And again, I can't thank you enough.
Thanks for having me on.
So please stay tuned. We're going to take a short break. We'll be right back.
A car accident can change your life in an instant. As a result of a car accident, you may become unemployed. As a result of a car accident, you may need a lot of medical treatment. People think that insurance companies are on their side. Why? Because they're giving them one or two benefits. Are they giving them all the benefits they deserve? How would one know unless you consult with an attorney? Call the law offices of Jumana Kiruz at 248-557-3645. 248-557-3645.
Life for Relief and Development has now been rated as one of the best charities for humanitarian aid. Life's humanitarian projects span the globe, and Life is celebrating its 30th anniversary of providing essential life-saving aid to people and communities in 36 countries, regardless of race, color, religion, or cultural background. Where there is life, there is hope. And when disaster occurs here or around the world, including being one of the first responders to the Turkey-Syria earthquake crisis, Life for Relief and Development rushes in to provide food, medical aid, and shelter to those in need. We are looking to help the earthquake victims, and we take 0% overhead on emergency donations. So please help improve these efforts. Learn more about our involvement to help the helpless and bring hope where it's needed most, and make your tax-deductible donation to Life for Relief and Development now at lifeusa.org or call 248-424-7493. That's 248-424-7493. With more than 30,000 successful in vitro fertilizations, IVF Michigan is now ranked as one of America's best fertility clinics according to Newsweek magazine. IVF Michigan fertility centers are the recognized leaders in high-quality fertility care. With locations in Bloomfield Hills and 9 other cities in Michigan and Ohio, IVF has experts in all aspects of the field. A founding member, American board-certified Dr. Nicholas Shama, is one of the leading reproductive endocrinologists in Michigan and Ohio. He has performed over 20,000 successful IVF cases, and it's helped thousands of couples fulfill their dreams of parenthood. When it's time to get personalized care from Dr. Nicholas Shama at one of America's best fertility clinics, call IVF Michigan Fertility Centers in Michigan and Ohio toll-free at 855-952-9600. 855-952-9600.
Welcome back and thank you for being with us. This is Khalil Hachem with the U.S. Arab Radio. We're going to turn to a different subject now. We're going to move away from health to politics, international politics. The UN Commission concluded that Israel is committing genocide in Gaza. Arab and Muslim leaders who met in Doha last week, they were talking about, they condemned basically the Israeli attack in Doha with empty rhetoric. And at the same time, Israel continues its assault on Gaza without hesitation and with American support. What is next for Gaza, Doha, or the Middle East? And what is going to happen in the Gulf countries that depend on America's protection? With us this morning is Dr. Ronald Stockton, a professor of political science at the University of Michigan, Center for Middle East and North African Studies. Good morning. Thank you for being with us.
It's good to be here.
There's been a lot that happened last week or the week before. First, that Mr. Netanyahu wants to continue and attack Gaza City, which is everybody is telling him, don't do that because it's going to be a bloodbath. And one of his ministers said, we're going to take a bunch of Gaza and live in it. The attack on Doha was a big surprise to everybody. And I mean, what's really going on? I mean, this is something like we never really expected it would happen.
Well, let's talk about Doha first. I think that was very interesting. According to news reports, those missiles were launched from the Red Sea. 10 Israeli planes over the Red Sea, that's 1,000 miles from Doha, fired 12 missiles and hit a very specific target. That's amazing. The Hamas leaders said as soon as the first one hit, they knew they were under attack, and they had a plan of what they were going to do. They were sitting around a table discussing, literally, the American proposal for Gaza. So these are the peace negotiators in a sense, and Qatar has played that role of trying to get people together who won't speak to each other in public, but they'll get together with them in Doha and talk unofficially. So that was a very precise hit, and it certainly is very frightening if you're in the Israeli sights, so to speak. I think we Americans are used to sort of outspoken, confrontational things. I think in the Gulf, things happen, nothing happens, and then things happen behind the scenes. And I think the criticism of the Gulf states for not doing anything is sort of misdirected. Saudi Arabia has now formed a defense alliance with Pakistan, which would never have happened before this.
Sure, sure.
And I think the Gulf states in general, as you noticed, the Gulf states in general have said to themselves, can we really count on the Americans to protect us? Because Qatar has an Air Force, an American Air Force base there. It's amazing. It's a major, it is officially a major non-NATO ally. So it is a part of our defense structure. And the U.S. Headquarters are in Bahrain, and there's a fleet protecting Kuwait, and we have security in Saudi Arabia. And in the past, that counted for something. Once during when Obama was president and there were negotiations with Iran, the Israelis Netanyahu made up his mind that he was just going to bomb Iran and that would destroy all the negotiations. And he actually had jet planes on the runways ready to head off. And Netanyahu and Obama called them back. And they say, how can the Israelis do something if the Americans officially say they don't want it to happen? Can the Americans even protect us anymore? And I think that's a very good question. Regarding Israel, it's obvious that Israel can do what it wants and the Americans will do virtually nothing. I mean, what did Trump do? He said, well, I wasn't very happy about that. Well, what, your non-happiness doesn't count for much, with that and $5 you can buy a cup of coffee at Starbucks, so what a strange situation, huh?
Well, I mean, it sounded like a bait and switch. I mean, the Americans will tell Hamas that meet in Qatar, in Dubai, in Doha, and discuss peace, and then the Israelis would come in and shoot him. It sounds like a setup, and I don't know if it is or not, but it sounds like a setup.
I don't know either. That's a good possibility. That how could this not be a setup? I don't know. I do think that the Hamas leadership is going to move to a different place. That's what I've read. They're moving somewhere else where they'll be safer than sitting there, sitting duck in Qatar. So something is.
Will they be? I mean, that's the question. Will they be safer? I mean, they were in Iran, they got hit. They were in Lebanon, they got hit, and they're now in Doha, which is basically kind of like a friend with Israel. I mean, yeah, there's no diplomatic relations, but they're friends with Israel.
Isn't that interesting? Because Qatar was one of the first countries which actually began trading with Israel.
Yeah,
they acknowledge it. It's undercover. They don't exactly have embassy there, but they have trade relations through third parties.
Yeah,
and so, but at the same time, Qatar has befriended Hamas. They've funded Hamas, and the Israelis view that as hostile. Plus, Al Jazeera.
Well, yeah, yes or no? I have to interject here. It was Qatar did that on the behest of the United States and Mr. Netanyahu himself, because they felt, before October 7th, they felt like if we keep him busy there, we don't have to worry about him.
Very interesting. Yeah, that's a good thought, and I'll have to think about that.
Yeah.
That would not have happened without American approval, would it?
Absolutely. Qatar would not do it without American approval.
And many of the things in Gaza had to do with reconstructing previous Israeli bombardments, didn't it?
Exactly.
So it wasn't as if they were spending all their money on armaments. A lot of it was, but not all of it. That's very interesting.
Yeah. It's just very interesting. And the other thing is that, I mean, I listen to what's going on, discussions in the Middle East. People don't buy the fact that America did not know that Israel was gonna hit Doha. I mean, where are they going to come from? Over Saudi Arabia, over Syria, and these are American lines. And if you had that big, huge, one of the biggest air bases in the area, we must have some kind of a radar. We must have seen these planes come there. And if we didn't, that means something is wrong.
We also have Patriot missiles there.
Yeah.
They can shoot down. Incoming missiles, and those were not activated. And they said later, well, it came so fast that we didn't have time. Well, some people, what's the purpose of a Patriot missile if it has to wait for, announcement in the
Tell it to somebody
newspaper?
else. I think that from what I've read and I gathered, that particular base is able to, track movements all over the Middle East. When these planes took off from Israel, they were tracked and they knew where they're coming. So
Mhm.
for the U.S. to say that, it really doesn't wash with me, at least. So
Mhm.
yeah, it's just for
So
me.
I noticed something. As soon as this happens, and then Israel gives the go-ahead for the invasion and destruction of Gaza and the expulsion of Palestinians. That's clearly part of it. And the annexation, probably, of northern Gaza. That's probably part of it. I noticed suddenly Trump is in Jerusalem. And he goes to the Western Wall and he prays with Netanyahu. And he says he's in support of the annexation of the E1 block. I'm sure many of your listeners know this, but E1 is the last piece of open land where there's a circle around Jerusalem. And
Yeah.
this is the last piece of land to complete the encirclement of Jerusalem and to make a Palestinian state impossible. And that's been sitting there. 15 years ago, I was in Jerusalem, and I remember standing on a hill, and an Israeli guide was saying, "You see this piece of land out there? This is soon going to be settled. You see out there, there's one building. That's the police station. They always build the police station first. Within a year, they're going to be constructing." And I was out there last year, and there it was, sitting there exactly where it was. And I was with a group of people, and we had an expert talking to us about this. And I said, "Look, I was told this 15 years ago, and there it is, sitting there undeveloped. What happened?" And she said, "Well, the Americans stopped them from doing what they wanted to do, but those Americans are not there anymore."
Yeah.
In other words, you now have Trump, who and his Secretary of State and his ambassador, all of whom are in favor of Israeli expansion and annexation. So they've openly endorsed this, and so now it looks as if this death this death cycle is going to be continued. They've come out in support of the invasion of Gaza, which is already creating destruction. And Trump has openly supported the removal of perhaps 1 million Palestinians from Gaza. So if you see an American president who takes all of those positions, which are like Netanyahu's dream list of things he would like, and then they say, well, we really couldn't stop Netanyahu from bombing Qatar, that's not credible.
Yeah.
You're absolutely right. This doesn't make sense.
Doesn't wash.
I mean, you make a list of all the things that they're in favor of, and one other thing is, oh, by the way, we want to bomb Qatar and kill Hamas if we can. You can't say that was against Trump's wishes that happened.
Yeah. Listening to and reading the commentary in the Middle East, specifically in the recent period in Lebanon and other places, there was a large number of people who were saying, well, we can trust the U.S. that would rein in Israel and that would bring in some kind of an agreement and that would lead to peace. And these people have been silenced because now the other camp is saying, we told you so, that this cannot be trusted. Look what happened. Qatar trusted its security to the U.S., and the U.S. failed Qatar to please Israel. This is I don't know whether this would change the tide on the popular level. I don't see any changes on the governmental level, but there's a lot of simmering, if you will, under the lower level and the populist level. Do you think this may change Egypt, Jordan,
You just made a very good point. There's a real distinction between what the rulers of a country do and what their public wishes they would do.
Yeah.
I think it's clear at this point that the Arab public is moving in one direction and the Arab leaders are not moving with them. So, and you got to be sympathetic to them. You know, these are fragile states if you think about it. And some of these, I talked to a man once, he was a Jordanian and he was an ambassador to one of the Gulf states. And he said, when I got out there, I had to completely reconsider what I understood a state to be. I always thought there was a group of people and they had a state. He said, but many of these countries are they've just got a handful of people. There's just a couple of million people and an oil well. And Saddam Hussein used to have contempt for these Gulf states. You know, he called them the deformed midgets of the Gulf, which was really a very derogatory way of describing them. And other people have described them as families with oil wells.
Sure.
And so what exactly does it mean that most of the people in Qatar are probably foreigners, maybe Russians or some other people bringing in billions of dollars that they've stolen from their own country? And so what is the leadership supposed to do? They form alliances with other powerful groups to protect themselves and whatever. So they're certainly not listening to a public opinion poll when they decide what's in our best interest.
Absolutely, absolutely. You know, when I look at it, like right now, what's going on in Saudi Arabia, and there's tremendous discussion that what can we do to protect ourselves, because there are a lot of doubts that the U.S. would protect them if Israel is in the equation. And then I'd like you to comment a little bit about the Abraham Accord. Saudi Arabia, as far as they're concerned, they're saying, you know, this is not going to really move forward right now.
Well, you know, when I was teaching my class on the Israeli-Palestinian conflict when the Abraham Accords were first proclaimed, and so I read those accords. And I came in and usually what I would do in a case like this, if there's some major development, I would just say, okay, we're going off syllabus. I'm going to spend a whole class period discussing this new development so people will be caught up. And I just went in and I said, look, I've read this. It's a waste of our time. This has nothing to do with the Palestinians or with the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, in spite of some words in there that, you know, we want peace and whatever. But I said, this is really an effort of rich Saudis to work with international Israeli supporters and in order for everybody to get richer. And that's what it is. It's just an effort of billionaires on both sides to make more billions. And now, but here is a case where actually the public doesn't quite get a vote, but they get an opinion. And how can you possibly go forward with a friendly relationship with Israel, treaties with Israel, maybe trade arrangements with Israel, whatever it is? How can you do that when the public is watching the news every night and seeing the horror of Gaza and seeing their government basically do almost nothing except issue statements that, you know, we condemn this or whatever, or call Israel, say Israel is committing a genocide, which they are, but I mean, maybe those elites who govern Saudi Arabia, for example, don't feel they have much room to maneuver.
Yeah.
At the same time, I can't see that they're going to move forward with anything. You know, the thought that there'll be open relations between Israel and Saudi Arabia, I can't see that.
Yeah, it's you know, like the mood in the Middle East right now, from what I've gathered, is people don't know where we're going.
Hmm.
Israel occupies part of Lebanon, does not want to leave there. Part of Syria moved all the way pretty close to Damascus or on Damascus. The annexation of the West Bank is pending. Gaza is being taken over. Attacks in Yemen here and there. It's like we don't know where we're going. Are we going into a war? Are we, or maybe there's, because the U.S. is not really taking any lead here. Secretary of State was in Jerusalem, and Netanyahu said we're going into Gaza. So I'm sure that's a tacit agreement.
I think you're right.
Yeah.
If we're not if we Americans are not supporting this, we certainly are giving the impression that we're supporting it.
Yeah.
It looks as if we are.
What do you think is going to happen, though? I mean, like everybody think there's going to be a big war in the Middle East.
I doubt it.
Yeah.
Who would do this?
Yeah.
I'll tell you what I think. I think God doesn't like impasses. God doesn't like conflicts that just go on and on and on and on. Of course, it took 400 years for the Irish to drive out the English. So that's a kind of a long wait for God to get involved.
Yeah.
But it's just when Netanyahu said we're the new Sparta, I thought, oh my gosh. And because the Spartans conquered the Helots. They were a group of people. They conquered them. And there was constant uprisings, just one uprising against another. And the Spartans put all of them down and usually conducted systematic massacres and all that sort of thing. But once there was an earthquake that hit Sparta and made it so weak that the Helots saw their chance and they engaged in the biggest uprising of their history. And this was a bloody, protracted conflict, and it went on and on and on. And in the end, the Spartans won, if you want to call it won, but they were so exhausted from the war that basically the Athenians came in and conquered them, and they lost their independence.
Sure.
So I'm wondering something has got to bring an end to this. Something has to break this loose. Is it going to be a big earthquake? Israel hasn't had an earthquake since the 1800s, so there aren't many earthquakes. But if they come, they would hit Tel Aviv and Haifa. Those would be the two places where there would be earthquakes. And then what would happen?
I hope they find a way to live together and don't kill each other,
Well, that would be a good option. I've been in favor of that for as long as I've been reading about it. Can't you guys just work out something?
Yeah, work out something. There's plenty of sand in the box. Come on.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be perfect.
No, it doesn't. Exactly. Just get together. Final thoughts, Dr. Stockton.
Well, I don't know. My final thought is that probably in a year you're going to call me and we're going to talk again. And we're not going to know much more than we know right now.
Sounds good.
We're going to be equally distressed at whatever is going to happen.
Unfortunately.
In a year from now. And so this is just going on and on, isn't it? And I don't see it getting any better.
No.
And we don't have an American president. In the past, an American president would say to the Israeli prime minister, don't do that.
Yeah.
Don't mess with us. That's going to upset our foreign policy. Don't do something crazy that's going to make us look bad and cost us credibility. We don't have that anymore.
Yeah,
we have a president and a vice president and an ambassador and a secretary
of Congress. And a Congress.
Yeah, and a Congress, all of whom are totally behind what it is that Netanyahu is doing. And the poor people of Gaza are being, the numbers, at least 65,000 now, and maybe a couple times that, who knows, when you count all the bodies under the rubble. So we've got an enormous humanitarian catastrophe. And I've said that in 25 years, when someone is teaching a course on genocide, they're going to have a whole unit on Gaza. Everybody is going to have a unit on Gaza. You couldn't not have a unit on Gaza. It's got to be included there. It's like Rwanda. You have to have Rwanda, and you have to have the Armenians, and you're going to have Gaza. So this has been written into the history books, regardless of the outcome. And I was in South Africa right after Mandela came to power, and I was talking to a young white woman, an Afrikaner woman. And she said it was so distressing to be the polecat of international politics. To sit there and know that the whole world hates you.
Yes. Yeah.
And you say, but we don't approve of this. We don't like what our government is doing. Well, the world doesn't care, really. You may not approve of it. Right now, I don't know, as an American, how would I feel going to a country in Europe and having someone say, I want to talk to you about your country? What would I do,
Yeah, exactly.
I don't support it. And they would say, yeah, but what are you doing?
Yeah, absolutely. Dr. Stockton, thank you so much for being with us. Really appreciate you taking the time.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye now.
Are you going to start a restaurant or a grocery store soon? Do you need floor plans and designs? Call Naji Abood at 734-744-9796. Do you want to buy kitchen and restaurant equipment at discount prices? Call Naji Abood now, 734-744-9796. New Concept Products and Design, the trademark of kitchen equipment. 5% discount on all purchases of $75,000 or more. New Concept Products and Design, new location, 31185 Schoolcraft in Livonia. Learn more at www.newconceptproducts.com. Call Naji Abood, 734-744-9796.
Ziyad brand. Quality products from our family to yours. Ziyad Brothers Importing offers the finest quality products, including brands like Sultan, Kraft, Nestle, Hook, Rico Picon, Dana, and many more. Ask your retailer to carry these fine products because you deserve the very best. For more information, visit our website at www.ziyad.com. That's www.ziyad.com. Ziyad, quality products from our family to yours.
I would like to thank Dr. Stockton for being with us, also Dr. Bagdasarian for being with us and talking about the flu and the COVID and all the vaccines. Take the flu vaccine. It's talk to your doctor first and take the vaccine if your doctor thinks it's a good idea. Every person has her own situation, and talk to your medical doctor. And if they, I know right now vaccines are getting a bad rap, so don't listen to that. Talk to your doctor, listen to your doctor. Your doctor should know better. And then Dr. Stockton, I want to thank him for being with us. And unfortunately, what's going on in the Middle East, we hope that they find a way to become peaceful and, find a way to end the war, to end the suffering, and for everybody. This is like we're on, I don't know. I mean, it looks like we may be on a way to a bigger war. One last thing I would like to bring to your attention is the fact that the Federal Reserve cut interest rates by a quarter of a point. This is not really a huge cut, but it signifies that the government, and I don't know whether it's political pressure or not, but it signifies that the federal government feels that it's time to cut interest rates. And to just explain it to you very quickly, federal interest rates is about 4%, and this is the interest rate that the banks charge each other, and then the federal government, the federal bank charges other banks as well. On top of that, banks add to it, and this is why you get charged if you're buying a home. Right now, it's 6%, 7%, between 6 and 7%. Credit cards about 20%, and so forth and so on. The lower this number is, the lower the general interest rate is, and at this point, you're not going to see a lot of changes in your in your credit card or anything else. You're going to see more of changes with if you're buying a home. It may be a little bit better right now, but it's more kind of like not sentimental, but encouragement. This is an encouragement that the economy is on the right track. When the Feds do that, that means the inflation is coming down, and now it's time to really stimulate the economy. Because if they cut it with more than quarter of a point, half a point, at 1 point at once. This may lead to bring up inflation and weaken the dollar. We don't want it to do that. So as you well know, I work in real estate, and this is really a good news for real estate. If you're buying and selling, this is really good news. This is going to hopefully move the real estate market a little bit. It's been kind of a little bit, still. If you're interested in investments in western Detroit, specifically Warrendale area, we have several homes for sale there. These are homes people buy and they rent. They're around $100,000. Where are you going to find a home for $100,000? It's a good investment when you buy a home for $100,000 and then you rent it for $1,200 or $1,400 a month. This is really a good investment. It's also, that's an area where there's a lot of Section 8 in there. Those who invest know what I'm talking about. And we also have near Dearborn about 4,000 square foot warehouse, a small warehouse with a parking lot. If anybody is interested, this is really a good deal in a good area and on the border of Dearborn. For somebody who's needing, 4,500 square foot warehouse. There are a lot of possibilities. You can use it for retail, you can use it, but it's for warehouse. Let me know if we can assist you in any way. 313-819-0101. So the market, it has been kind of a little bit, which is normal after the market is hot in May, June, July, and then during July, August kind of tapers down a little bit because people are busy going back to school, getting situated. After school, people who are not affected by schools, try to buy homes and then, find really good homes. And any time is a really good time to buy a home. If right now the interest rate is a little high, buy it now, because once the interest rate goes lower and lower and lower, more buyers are going to be in the market. And when more buyers are in the market, the price is going to go up. So buy your home now and then refinance later. This is a better strategy. So, and cutting the interest rate is good news for sellers, because if there is more demand, that means the price of homes, first homes are going to sell faster, then the price of homes is going to go up. So we expect, if the Feds continue cutting interest rate, we expect a really good end of this year where the market is going to be moving much faster. So it's really important to do that. If you have any questions, you have a property you want to sell, give me a call. I'll be more than happy to discuss it with you. There's always a reason why you want to sell. We also have a building in Harper Woods we are selling. This is a building that's being rented. It generates about $22,000 of rent a month. And it's a really good investment. The renters, they're going to be there for another 8 years and they have an option to stay. This is a really good investment. If you're looking to invest, give me a call, 313-819-0101. And again, the market is moving up and prices most likely to go up and more buyers are going to enter the market. And it's always a tricky when we're talking about interest rates, but it does really help. It does really help buyers and sellers. It does help bring in more buyers to the market, because once there are cuts for interest rates, that means more buyers could get qualified. For example, if somebody is being qualified for $100,000 and then or $90,000 rather to buy a home, I'm just going to use that number for explanation, and then once the rate goes down, that 90 jumps to 100, so you qualify for more money to buy a home and to really to really move the market forward. Again, you have any questions, give us a call, 313-819-0101. It's a good time to invest. If you take a look at most people who have money, who are rich in this country, they come from real estate. Real estate is a good investment. And again, we have several homes in the Detroit, Warrendale area. Warrendale is between Greenfield and west all the way to Dearborn Heights and Dearborn. And that's a very good area to buy homes there and invest in it and rent. We have several homes there for sale under and around $100,000. Give us a call, 313-819-0101. May you have a wonderful weekend. Thanks to Dr. Stockton. Thanks to Dr. Bagdasarian for being with us today. And thanks to you for listening. Thanks. Bye now.